Hey guys, you are watching the Reaction Hour episode 10. Before we get started, I just want to apologize. We're having some technical difficulties, so we are not going to be putting the videos up. We're not going to be watching any videos this episode. This is basically a regular podcast. So for those of you who tune in to watch us react to the viral videos, yeah, I just ruined it for you. And for all of our Muslim viewers out there, a happy Eid Mubarak. I think that's what. I don't know if I said that right, but I hope I did.
Don't ask me.
Yeah.
I know it's Eid. I know there's two Eids. This is the sacrifice one. I don't know what it's called. Like,
we don't know much about it, but if you're celebrating or practicing it, like have a happy one. Let's get started with this. So we just found out there's an article in the LA Times talking about a good amount of Indians seeking asylum coming in through Mexico, and they're being detained. Something I never heard about this. You know, I know a lot of people try to go through Mexico to get into the country. That's the big fear from the conservative right, that terrorists are going to come through the Mexican border. But
yeah, it says on a recent visit to a federal prison in Victorville, U.S. Rep. Mark Takano was caught by surprise. Of the hundreds of immigrants detained there, he learned possibly 40% had traveled from India seeking asylum. Which, when I read that, I was like, oh, because it's the title, the article says a growing number of California detainees are Indians crossing through Mexico to seek asylum.
Right.
My immediate thought was, how the hell? Why the hell is the Los Angeles Times calling Native Americans Indians? Like, I thought we moved past that, because I never would have thought that was a correlation that Indians were coming here. I would just assume that they were calling Native Americans Indians.
Right.
But
you're like, that's racist.
Yeah, I was there because it's the Los Angeles Times and they're politically left. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
It's actual Indians.
Yeah, real actual Indians.
And I guess there are two different political parties being persecuted by the Bharatiya Janata Party. I don't know if that's something you guys let us know. I want to read more about these, like what's happening, that people feel the need to travel that far to get into the U.S. and to go through Mexico too is the interesting part, instead of flying in through the East Coast.
One of the attorneys asked, why not stay in Mexico? And they said that they see us, America, as a traditional country that has helped the persecuted. And so it's ironic because that's true.
Yeah.
That's 100% true. But under Mr. Donald J. Trump, I don't know how true that's going to be. Because, and just actually to be any president, Barack Obama, the same thing. It's like the people are being turned away at the border right now. You know, how many of those people are refugees? How many of those people are seeking asylum from countries that are so shitty that they literally have no other choice but to flee?
Well, a lot of the people coming from Guatemala and El Salvador were fleeing MS-13 because their families were being threatened. And
under United States law, a refugee is someone who, located out of the United States, obviously, is of special humanitarian concern to the United States. That's so broad, I really don't even know what the hell that means.
That's the way. That's the get out of jail free card they can use to turn people away.
Because you're not a humanitarian.
For example, Cuba is like automatic refugee because of...
It's this third part, though. Demonstrates that they were persecuted or fear persecution due to race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group, is not firmly resettled in another country. I don't know why that's what it says. Is admissible to the United States. A refugee does not include anyone who ordered, incited, assisted, or otherwise participated in the persecution of any person on account of race, religion, nationality, and membership in a particular social group.
That's to keep the Nazis out.
Basically. Or gang members, probably. Yeah. But the thing is, like, if you had no choice and you were sworn into a gang because of where you were born and raised and you want to escape that, is like... That's where it gets, I'm just saying that's where it gets a little fishy.
It's a gray area that they can use against you.
But I'm saying you read that as a foreigner and you're like, okay, and then you see the Statue of Liberty and you know American history where that's literally, bring me, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry. And then people get turned around. Because I don't think the law is, because actually what it's not including here, and I've read it before, is like they have to submit approval and there's a process.
Yeah.
And the process is what the issue is. To a certain degree, because on one hand, you do need regulation. You do need people to say, okay, maybe you can't come in now. Maybe after you do But maybe those people don't have enough time.
Well, I mean, that's what Ellis Island was about. They would keep you at the island
for a month or however long it took to get rid of their illnesses or whatever.
Yeah, and it was also for them to what's that word called?
Relocate them?
No, the word when they verify who you are.
Verification?
No, that's not the word.
I have no idea.
Vet.
They
use that time to vet you to make sure.
Yeah, but obviously we can't do that now. There's so many. Where are we going to house them? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, we could. Because that's my thing is like, you could easily solve this problem by hiring more staff to go through these cases quicker. But
yeah, but the private prisons that they're being held at don't want to go.
I know, so I'm just saying there's never a right answer.
No.
Because you can counter what I just said with 10 different reasons why I'm wrong, and then someone else who maybe agrees with the other side can go back and counter 10 different reasons why they might be wrong. And there is this gray area, and it's just hard to say. I mean, it's tough because I wanted to look to see, you know, I don't know. I just think it's interesting.
There's also other stuff here in the article. It talks about like the bad stuff that the Indians are going through as well. Like they made all the Sikhs take off their bracelets, all their religious stuff, their bracelets, the turbans, and everything, and they're making the vegetarians eat meat because that's the only food they're giving them. Like I don't want to say it's terrible across the board. It doesn't matter if you're brown. Doesn't matter what brown country you come from. They're gonna treat you like shit, man. I mean,
know.
This is scary. Like,
if you're white, you can just come in through Canada and you're okay.
Right.
I mean, literally, that's probably the truth. So this was a few weeks ago. Two teenagers in California, including the son of a police chief, were charged on Wednesday with attacking a Sikh man who was confronted on a residential street, knocked to the ground, kicked, and spat on. So there is a video of this. The guy was 71 years old, and it shows everything. Now, you can't, like, obviously it's from a security cam, so there's no audio, there's no whatever. You don't know specifically what was said during these moments. Not to say that makes it any better, but, you know, it's tough. It sucks. I mean, it's bullshit. I don't know what, I just don't get it.
It makes me sick that, one, you're attacking someone because of the way they look, and two, you're attacking an old man. My dad is 73 years old. This could be my dad.
Yeah.
And
16 and 18.
Two kids, like, what do you get out of that?
So Tyrone McAllister, 18, and the other person does not have a name because
he's a minor.
He's a minor. McAllister is the one who is the son of the police chief of Union City, south of Oakland. So this is kind of at home for you. This is
not kind of. This is home.
Well, I know.
This is where I went to high school. Union City is where I grew up. So that's where all my friends are from.
Well, so you could speak on this personally.
I think it's fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. This is like, it's really upsetting because we all grew up with a lot of people, a lot of Sikhs. The only Indians in Union City are Sikhs. They're all from Punjab. You know, maybe now the demographic has changed, but when I was growing up, every single Indian person in Union City was from Punjab, and they were Sikh, and they've been there for a long time. They've been there for 30 years, if not more. So you've been around these people. They've had their businesses. They've been your neighbors. They've been your classmates. You know, for this kid, where did this kid get this idea? As his dad talking shit?
They got charged with robbery. That's what it said.
So they're robbing the guy.
So they got charged with attempted robbery, elder abuse, and assault with a deadly weapon.
But they didn't get charged with a hate crime.
No.
I wonder if that has to do with his dad.
The chief said, "My stomach has been churning from the moment I learned the news. Even though my status as a law enforcement leader has no bearing or relation to the case whatsoever, I am nonetheless devastated by how much the nature of my son's actions are such a departure from everything I've stood for in my personal life and in my 37-year policing career." I mean, I can keep reading.
I mean, do you think this is a case of trying to keep shit hood?
I don't know.
You know?
I really don't know.
I mean, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there is a thing that happens among minorities where if your family is in a little better position than the rest of everybody, you get pressure from the people underneath you to keep things real, to act a little more street, act a little more hood.
Because who would? My thing is, sorry, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt.
It's I don't know. That's what I think of when I see a minority doing something like this, a black person, a Latino person making something like something like this. If it's a robbery, if it wasn't a hate crime, if it was a robbery, you know, why? Your family's doing. Your dad's the chief of police.
He's the chief of police.
You're not hurting for money, and your dad is the face of like fighting crime and criminals. So, but you felt the need to go and do to do something.
Well, I
like
just wonder
this.
if it was
And
he only did it because his friend was there.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is the hood pressure.
Like if he was just by himself, he might have just walked by the guy and not thought twice about it.
Exactly.
But once you introduce another person, it's like, you know, because if you watch the video, they walk up to him. They don't they don't run up on him.
No.
That's the thing. If they ran up on him, I'm not saying that would have made it any better, but it wasn't.
They were talking shit to him.
Yeah, like there was face-to-face time.
And this is a spin. This will just be a spin, so they don't get charged with a hate crime because it's it's a different. You get a different penalty for it, and who knows by the time it goes to trial, son's gonna snitch and put it all on the other guy, and the other guy's gonna get messed up for it.
Who's to say what was said because there's no audio?
Right.
Maybe this man doesn't speak English. I don't know. I haven't read, but maybe if he doesn't speak English, how is he gonna be able to say, well, he said this, this, and this?
It's just I don't even want to talk about this anymore, man. It's sickening. It's ridiculous.
It's like the fucking 90-year-old dude who got beat up by a brick.
It's disappointed.
You know what I'm talking about?
That
the Mexican guy.
Yeah.
Just because he's fucking brown?
I'm more disappointed that it was by a person of color. If this was a white guy, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't upset me as much. But because it's by...
Not in a bad way, but like you almost feel like you're attacking one of your own.
Exactly.
Even though they're not the same race,
No.
but they're both minorities.
Right.
They're both... It's like when we did the review of Bhagat Singh. It's like you were mad at the Indian cops attacking the Indian people. And it's like... It's disgusting. How could you do that? It's your own fucking people, and you're enacting the rule of another nation. And that's not what's going on here, but it's like these black kids, like you said, they're not. This one in particular wasn't disenfranchised.
No.
At school, he might be the hood guy because he needs to be the anti. Maybe his dad's super strict.
Cred or something. I get it. I've seen it. I've experienced it.
I know people like that who've grown up privileged, but they try to they
try to
act
keep
hard
because they want to fit in with the rest.
But they've grown up. But it's like. Okay, you grew up in a 2-story house, and the whole second story is it's literally where you live.
I like to talk about this when people talk about Tupac. I grew up when Tupac was at his peak. I was a kid, and if you look at Tupac's backstory, we watched the biofilm.
He wasn't that hard.
He wasn't that hard. He didn't come from that rough a place. That the
he
rest
surrounded
of the
himself
rappers,
with friends.
He started surrounding himself with these people, but he went to a private school in Mill Valley. Mill Valley's in Marin County. Super posh white neighborhood, and he still felt the need to.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with being educated.
No,
in my opinion,
nothing wrong at all. But when you try to fit in with these other guys who aren't educated, who don't know what they're doing, I mean, I feel like there's a huge disconnect, and it's hard to bridge that gap. And I don't know what the solution is. I just know that beating up any old person. I mean, even if he's just said, let's know what the solution is if you have some sort of privilege. You need to try to educate the other people and elevate them, not lower yourself to their level.
I 100% agree. You took the words right out of my mouth. Because let's go serious here, for reals. Let's say he did speak English, or maybe it was broken English, and these guys, whatever, and he just straight up was like, fucking called them niggers, whatever. Let's just say that, and that's why he provoked them to attack. You should know that this dude's 70 years old,
right,
and you're fucking 60 years younger than him. You're both going to kick the shit out of him. If he started slurring, let's say, like I said, he's in the wrong. Let's say he started it, which I don't think that's the case at all, but just for the sake of argument, you should be the bigger person to walk away.
Right.
Because what the fuck is this man going to do? Short of pulling out a gun, if he pulled a gun out on him first, and then he got his ass whooped, well, you play with the cards that you were dealt. But that's not the case here. So you do need to be that bigger man. You do need to be the... It just makes no fucking sense, and it's sad. Do you punish the police chief for this? Like, does he have to step down because...
I mean, it's if it's going to happen, it's going to be internal. They're going to force it out and have him resign. But I don't know. I think it's a bad look. It's definitely a bad look. The only thing that he's got going for him is...
He's an adult now, though.
Union City's a small... Yeah, his son needs to get punished. And I think the Bay Area lately in the last 10 years has had a lot of issues with police corruption in San Francisco. That it's always a kid too. The chief of police in San Francisco's son I mean, we should throw some stuff up on the screen, but he got into a lot of trouble, not that long ago. And San Francisco, Oakland PD's had they had like a 17-year-old hooker on rotation between. Like the Bay Area cops have had a lot of corruption issues as
That's
of late.
fucking disgusting.
It's
well, speaking of San Francisco, to completely shift the topic. So this was an article that you sent me a few weeks ago. Headline says CDC warns, please do not wash or reuse condoms. Now, I thought this was common sense, that it's a one and done.
Right.
Once you use the thing, you dispose of it properly, and that's it. You know, it wasn't something where, because I did growing up immigrant with Nathaniel. There was no reused condoms, since I want to bring it up. But what I learned, and I didn't know this, apparently his family and other African families, at least from Ghana, will reuse Ziploc bags, like gallon-sized bags. Like they'll put their meat in it or whatever, and then they'll wash them out, and then they'll put them in. Same thing with plastic cups. Same thing with plastic utensils.
That's a poor people thing in general.
I 100%, I can see that.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I just never thought of it. I was like, oh, that totally makes sense. I could totally see 50 Mexicans I know right now who would totally do this.
They don't give a shit about BPAs.
And so exactly. But condoms, I feel like, if you know what a condom is, you probably had a little bit of education that you know that it's just not something to be reused.
It kind of comes down to, like, if you have any sort of knowledge of the majority of diseases that have plagued humanity since jump, most of them come from sexually transmitted diseases.
Have you ever reused a condom?
No. What? It's just.
I'm just asking.
I mean, we are in idiocracy right now that someone has to tell you can't reuse a condom. Like, who? I don't even know how anyone thought that was a good idea.
I'm just trying to think.
It's made of plastic, maybe? Oh, it's plastic. It's still good.
Just put some water in it and some soap. When we posted this on Facebook, someone commented, you just turn it inside out, then it's the same thing. And then I thought about that for a minute. I'm like, would that work? And then I thought about it for a minute. Why the fuck am I thinking about this? Because I'm like, maybe. But then I was like, is it worth risking it? No.
No.
Because you can get free condoms anywhere.
Right.
There's websites, at least in Los Angeles, there's websites where you just type in your address and they'll mail you 10 condoms for free. And so especially if you're in college or school, there's health centers, you could just pick up basically all the condoms you want.
Right.
But I just think it's ridiculous. I think, but it's just like, does it surprise you though, in some weird way?
You know what? It disappoints me. As a society, we're getting dumber. We're definitely getting dumber.
Do you feel like that? You really do feel that
I really think we're getting dumber. And it's funny, we have so much access to information now, yet we're going backwards.
Dumber or lazy?
It's a bit of both. I think it's funny, like, we have so much access to information, but we see things. I see the way the country's devolving now. This nationalism that never really existed is now through the roof. And maybe it did exist, but we didn't have access to it because of the internet. Like, now the internet, we're seeing it more. But I see the dumb arguments people have to defend their actions, to defend these protests that are happening. I mean, look, case in point, the NFL protests, that is just stupid. It's ridiculous. Like,
I mean, the fact that they're protesting? Or
the fact that you think that NFL players kneeling because of police brutality is anti-American and anti-flag. You know, when the person who came up with the idea is a veteran, a white guy, a white veteran Army Ranger, gave Kaepernick the idea to do it in the first place. You know, the fact that people are saying were you protesting the flag when the First Amendment has been such a big thing, and that's what the First Amendment is, the ability to protest the flag, and we're like, you're anti-military. When did the flag become synonymous with the military? You know, like, all these ideas that are being pushed by someone really smart is pushing these to get the dumber people to jump on board. And
I just think it's ridiculous that
the fact that you can post any article on Facebook and no one will vet it. Everyone will take it at face value.
I mean, I do, and I'm kind of the asshole when it comes to it. Because, like, if I see something that's wrong, not every time, but there's certain times where I'll just go find, like, I'll look, like, if I see something like, is this right? Because it's something.
Well, you're not the problem. The problem is the people that read the article title and they lose their shit, and they automatically share it.
I don't know, but so
we're at this. Here's the problem: is that this technology is so new.
We don't know the real outcomes.
We don't know the repercussions of all of it. And we're like, we have no idea.
None.
Things are different now. They've never been this way because this never existed before. You know, newsprint is dying.
I mean, if not,
And you
it's,
still
it's
have
on
to
life support.
You used to have to wait an entire day to get the news, or you'd have to wait until the news broadcast at night to get any sort of news.
Yep.
And then there's also journalism has disappeared because news reports went from like giving you actual stuff
to clickbait, so
exactly,
they can make money.
to car chases, to you know.
Hey man, don't talk shit about car chases. I love the car chases. Fuck you. The car chases are great, especially. Have you ever experienced a car chase?
Car chases do not educate you in any way whatsoever.
They entertain me.
They're entertaining. I
don't care.
But they're not newsworthy.
I'd rather have. Here's my counter to that. I'd rather have a news chase, cut off the news, quote unquote, as opposed to listen to the news anchors talk about CDC reports that and like just spread fear all over the place. I'm not saying reporting like the measles things. You brought up the measles things. Like there's a huge outbreak of mumps or measles or whatever in 20 states.
Right.
Because kids aren't getting their vaccines.
I'm going to send you this meme real quick.
But it's just like, how much fear do you need? Like I remember growing up, you'd always hear dog attacks people, and because they're just grabbing in the air for news articles.
Well, because they're trying to get people interested in it because people don't want to hear the real news, so they come.
I like police chases, so fuck you. But my point is though, my question is, have you ever watched a police chase on TV?
You're a moron.
I don't care. That's fine. Have you ever watched a police chase on TV and you're like, fuck, they're in my neighborhood, and have it fucking drive by where
It's never happened to me.
It's happened to me twice. Once in LA by USC, and then it happened by my own house just recently. And I was like, oh, they're coming down the street, and like you can hear it. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like I didn't go out to watch because that's stupid. Because then who knows?
You're almost there.
Had I lived on the like
this is the difference between white people and people of color. So I always notice that when I'm hanging out with my friends, my
white people
my
run
white
away
friends.
from the problem.
No. If there's a gunshot, white people run outside to go see what's happening. Fucking black people, Latino
They're
people,
like, get in the
duck
bathtub
down and get the hell out of Dodge. Like, oh shit, they're shooting! Boom, I'm out. I remember I was in the car with my old drummer. This guy stopped in the middle of like one of these main roads, kind of like Imperial Highway. Stops, gets out his car, pulls out a gun and shoots at this car coming his way, and then the guy, like the truck, stops and like goes over the median to chase the guy that shot at him. And my drummer was like, oh shit, and got in the car and tried to chase them down to see what's gonna happen next. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, what I want to see. I was like, no, we don't go and see what happens. We go the other direction and get the hell out of here. What are you doing? No, it's just a white dude from Union City.
That's funny.
Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, oh yeah, this is like I don't want to see this. I don't want to be a part of this at all. I want to get the hell out of here.
I would have been right the other way. No,
I mean, you see the monster movies. All the white people are watching Godzilla walk in.
And who's the one who dies? The black guy. The one's minding their own business. That's probably why. The white people go chase the threat, and the black people are like, man, I ain't going nowhere. Yeah. And they're like, okay, you're done. You're dead. No, but no, I think the media definitely sensationalized, and it's partly our fault too, meaning the internet and all that stuff, because when the internet first came out, I remember they were trying to charge for news articles, and people were like, fuck you, I ain't subscribing to your shit. So they made everything free for years and years and years. And then finally, when they're like, okay, we need to start charging. We don't have any choice.
Nobody wants it.
No one wants it.
Yeah.
I mean, like this, I'm hesitant to click on LA Times articles now. And that's fucking sad.
Because you
New York Times articles.
Because you get that this is your four free articles a month.
And it's like, do I want to waste it on this fucking one thing?
Right.
And then I end up not reading it. And then I end up reading another news outlet who's rewritten the same fucking article.
And you get on Facebook.
Yeah, and it's just like, and that's not what I want to do. I can afford, I guess, to pay for the news, but I'm already so ingrained to getting it to all these other sources. It's like, and podcasts and all the other shit. It's like,
it's how you feel about movies, you know.
What do you mean?
Like, you can get them for free, and sometimes you do.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
And it's music. You can get
the
it
music.
for free.
I haven't paid for an album since. The last time I paid for an album that wasn't at a concert, because concerts are different.
Right.
Concerts, you know, if you buy something at a concert, you're giving them money almost direct. Well, not so much anymore, but usually that's the thought process.
Before the 360 deals.
Right. Was System of a Down's double album, and I remember buying. That was 2006, I think.
Right.
And that was like I bought it at Circuit City, and it came with a T-shirt, which I still have. That was it. I haven't bought and I've downloaded countless out. I will always support the bands I like, though. I will go to their concert. I'll buy a T-shirt. I'll buy a sweatshirt. I'll whatever. But when I go to
whatever helps you sleep at night while you shit on every other band, but
I mean that's not the point. But I'm just saying I agree with you, but that's
no, but
we're a part of the problem.
It's created a culture of give me everything for free.
It's why we can go on YouTube, make content for people for free. It's not free for us because we have to put in our time, we have to put in our money to get all this equipment or whatever, and then still get comments be like, "You guys are taking advantage of us for the." We're making free fucking content. You don't have to watch our content.
You don't have to click on those ads.
You don't have to do anything.
You don't have to
But it's
you don't
free.
have to go and buy Tide.
It's free.
Yeah, it is free.
Free.
It's absolutely free.
So
the only thing you're giving is your time.
Exactly.
It's just an exchange of time. And it's not the first time I've said those exact same words. It's an exchange of time. Our time for your time.
And that's it.
You're not
So when we get those comments, it's like, oh my God,
it's
Jesus
annoying.
Christ.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that YouTube was like it was in 2006 where we'd be making thousands of dollars off of ad revenue. I wish. But it's fucking...
I mean, who wants to be a part of a Patreon as well? We don't have a Patreon.
We don't. And we should. We should. But I feel so...
In terms of the Patreon, I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day. He was talking to one of these political comedian guys.
So he's been free forever.
And he said, I think it's better just to do everything for free, because everything will kind of pay off at the end. And I feel like that's kind of what we're doing now. We're not asking people to.
I mean, we definitely want to do things that, like, I want to create T-shirts for our show.
Right. Which is different, and I'm okay with that. I am all about physically holding, and if anybody that watches the comic book content I do, that's something that I'm very adamant about, is like when you go to a comic store and buy a comic book, you physically have something in your hand.
Right.
Digital files can disappear. If you spend $3 on a comic book, $4 on a comic book, even if you only get $1 for it, you still get $1 back. You're never gonna get any money for any of these digital files. And I forget why the fuck I brought this up.
I don't know.
Oh, the Patreon thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I kind of feel the same way. Like if we sell merchandise, if we sell T-shirts, if we sell mugs, you have something you can hold on to, something you can use, something that it's yours, it's in your possession, and it's not going to go away unless you destroy it. Whereas giving away content that, number one, people can download it and share it, just like movies and music. I don't know.
No, I hear you. I just think it's. I think it's. What annoys me though is just like.
That just turned off.
Are we supposed to be rich? Like, are we supposed to just do this forever and not expect to have any sort of...
I mean, at a certain point in we have to cross that threshold and think about it. Obviously, is it a hobby or is this something that we're pursuing full time? But
I'm not talking about us specifically, but like...
No, but I know. I mean, in
creators.
film school, we took an editing class, a grad school editing class, and the guy told us, like, hey, once you're out in the real world, you realize that the people making a lot of these independent films are rich people, and they're doing it as a hobby.
Yep.
Because they have the disposable income to do it. And the regular guys like us, not necessarily going to get that same opportunity. We have to accept that at some point.
It's a struggle, because it's
absolutely.
Like you have to ignore it, and that's what we've been doing.
Right.
Like anytime anyone says that, I know the people who said that are not watching this video right now. We know that without a shadow of a doubt. But the people who do say that, it's just like you're not doing anything. You're not gonna make us stop making content.
No, absolutely.
You're not gonna like be like, oh my God, you're right. Let's like people who tell us unsubscribe. Cool, man.
You know what? That's gonna make me want to make less free content. You're right. I'm just gonna.
But I'm just saying the people who like try to like,
like,
intimidate us. Like, what the fuck? Like, why do you're not subscribed? You're not a subscriber. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you'll subscribe down the line. Maybe
as the Reverend Joey TMD Gayton says. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
I don't say that, but that's right.
Well, you're not the Reverend Joey TMD Gayton.
And that's true. It's just we're gonna make a video about this in the future.
Well, let's move on to some entertainment stuff. We have a few minutes left. Let's talk about we haven't touched.
Well, I have to talk about one more serious thing, and then we will definitely get there. And it's only because we were supposed to talk about it like 2 weeks in a row, and it's about. So the title is Saudi Arabia crucifies Myanmar man for theft and murder. This was a few weeks ago. Saudi Arabia executed and crucified a Myanmar man in the holy city of Mecca on Wednesday in a rare form of punishment reserved for the most egregious crimes. Elias Abu Kalam Jamaluddin, fucking terrible at names, I'm sorry.
Should have sent me that.
Yeah, I should have. Was accused of breaking into the home of a woman from Myanmar, firing a weapon in it, then repeatedly stabbing her, which led to her death.
So he murdered her.
Basically. He was also accused of stealing weapons and trying to kill another man whose home he broke into, as well as attempting to rape a woman. The ruling was supported by the country's Supreme Court and endorsed by the king. Crucifixions in Saudi Arabia entail hanging of a body in public after an execution and are unusual. The last public crucifixion was in 2010 for a Yemeni man who raped and killed a girl,
And
as well as shot.
Before that, the last crucifixion was Jesus Christ in 32 A.D.
Are you saying that crucifixion is an antiquated form of punishment?
I'm saying it's.
That's actually what. So I asked.
It's one of these things, man, where like the guy deserves whatever he got, but at the same time, it's like, are we still so barbaric? Does that prevent people from doing that?
Is that
so
barbarism?
preventative?
Is that barbarism, or is that uniquely human?
It just depends on how you feel. Like, are you
Wolves aren't crucifying other creatures. They're mauling them to death.
Right.
But I feel like
they're mauling them to death to eat them as well.
So, well, that's what I'm saying. I think crucifixion is uniquely human.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I put this out on Twitter to see how everyone felt.
Crucifixion is less about punishing that guy and more about intimidating everybody else to let you know that if you do this.
Yeah, no, and that's
what
some people.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like say names because I just don't want to attribute this to like anybody. I don't know if they want to keep private, even though it's on Twitter. But one response: a lot of underprivileged Muslims of South Asian countries think Saudi is some kind of heaven. They go there looking for jobs. Once they get there, their passports are confiscated by employers and turned into slaves, which I know about. Vice did a piece on this, actually.
Okay, but that is only, when it comes to this case in particular, that is only valid if those charges are false.
Right, exactly. Because if the guy did what he did, I mean, you can't escape that. Same thing, this guy was probably guilty, but I really doubt that he got a fair trial, not to mention the brutality. Of course, to clarify, I'm not sympathizing with the criminals, Another comment, I feel like Saudi Arabia did the right thing because these hangings are a precedent for the future. People will think twice before raping or breaking into people's houses and stabbing them. As an Indian, rape is a big issue in our country, and to do hangings is justified. There's other comments, but I guess they got deleted. I don't know because they're not here. Let's see. Not only Muslims, all South Asians suffer from the corrupt, oppressive oil states in the Middle East. Most of them do not go there just for the lure of money. Many of them are neck deep in debt.
I see what it is. They think because they're Muslim that they're going to get treated equally in these other countries, and that's been shown to not be the case. Like,
because if you're not from the bloodline,
the ethnic and racial aspects of it are still in play. It's not a religious thing, especially in Saudi Arabia.
I mean, it is a religious thing if you want to enter the country.
Right.
If you're Jewish, you're not getting into Saudi Arabia.
Right, but
you will be murdered.
They're also racially considered different, No,
I'm just saying though, like like if you were Palestinian, right? Or looked Palestinian, I should say, which doesn't make any sense, but that's the Muslim side, right?
I don't think so, because they had this bombing that just happened in Jordan that was attributed to Saudis, They're neighbors. No,
I'm talking about visual aesthetics. If you look the part, right? But you kept quiet about your religion.
Yeah, if you're visual, you can slide in.
That's what I'm talking about. That's all I'm talking about.
But if you're from Myanmar, also used to be known as Burma, you definitely look South Asian. You look Thai, Vietnamese. You look like kind of that.
So you're already out of the equation.
It's just kind of like we watched in Chak De India. The girls that were Chinese looking from the northern part of India. There's Indian people who calling them chow mein.
Right.
Not realizing that they're Indian.
They're Indian themselves. I hear you. I think it's so the only reason why I shared this is because I had the same sentiment as the guy who said that they deserved it, like that was justifiable. Because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, if someone got crucified here in the States for something, would that be a deterrent? But then I started thinking, but we're in 2018 now. Yeah. Like maybe back then it was, because how does that might scare, like how does fear ever change a society? Fear makes you afraid, but it doesn't necessarily say, hey.
It's also complicated when it comes to rape. Like, what's the motivation behind rape in the first place? Is it something that you can cure? Is it like I just have rapey tendencies? There's just so much involved in it, man, and I don't know. It's a slippery slope.
One of the brain people that went on, neuroscientists who went on Joe Rogan's podcast, said that like the biggest breakthrough he sees coming in the next 20 years in terms of like our studying of the mind and stuff is that we're going to reach a point where we're going to see how the prison systems, we're going to see these executions, we're going to see all these things. There's going to be a point where we're going to say, you know what? The people who murder, the people who rape, the people who do this, they have mental disorders. That if we did X, Y, or Z, we could probably change that. That they're just misfiring of chemicals or whatever. But we'll be able to pinpoint those. And then all of a sudden, all of these years and years worth of persecution and all of these things, you know, pedophiles and the most disgusting, vile things, creatures that we can think of. It not disappear, but it will make you rethink, like, fuck, we killed all these people who probably didn't need to be killed. Or we could have easily given them X, Y, or Z drug that might be able to counteract this and lead them to a better...
Well, the question is, do they need to be a
But is
part
it their
of society?
fault? Is it their fault? Because it's not always their... I mean, you don't choose to be born. You don't choose to be born.
I mean, but there's also...
You don't choose to your parents who might be fucked
there's
up.
Also, there's also literature that supports that many of these acts that happen come from traumatic experiences.
That's what I'm saying.
Children.
You don't choose those events.
But it wasn't. It's
Is
not
it
a
their
mental.
fault?
It's not a mental like a chemical imbalance. It's because something happened to you at certain. But who do you hold accountable for?
But it's
that?
like, okay, like James Gunn. I know you want to talk about James Gunn, so we can weave this in there. You look at James Gunn, and obviously he had those pedophilic tweets and all that shit, and maybe he is a pedophile in his heart, in his mind. Maybe he looks at little kids and he does want to have sex with them, but he's never acted on it.
And murder them.
And eat them or whatever he was saying. Maybe he does. Maybe that's where that comes from. And I'm not calling him that. I'm not saying that's true, but maybe. But he's never acted on that. Is he still a pedophile?
Right.
Is he?
No.
Would he be? Because he hasn't done anything.
No.
But he has those thoughts, right? He has those,
right.
And so I'm not saying that this guy is justified who got murdered or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I don't know if killing him exactly fixes the issue.
I mean, that also comes down to what's the motivation behind it. Is it a chemical issue? Like, I feel like rape is... If you're a rapist, number one, you have no respect for women. That's definitely like, you hate women, and it's a power thing. It's not a sexual thing.
But then you get in the argument of, like, what's rape? Remember when like, is it rape, or is it... You never said this, but people would say this, like, with the Brock Turner case. Well, that was clearly rape. But then it's like, well, all rape's the same.
I absolutely believe that Brock Turner has no respect for women, and that's why he did that in the first place.
I agree. For those who don't know what Brock Turner is, he was found... Did he pass out as well?
No. She was passed out, and he was, like...
Found basically having sex with her.
He was fingering her.
Oh, he was fingering her?
Yeah.
And she was passed out.
She was completely passed out. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not...
He didn't get to the
That wasn't vaginal penetration with his penis, but it's still rape.
It's also, like... Because do we know that wasn't going to happen next because he didn't get there?
It could. I could totally see it.
It also could be. I say it's a lack of respect for women because
I can tell you why.
He could think that it's totally okay because other people have done it. And I've heard like people talk about it, like, oh, the girl's passed out and I still like whatever. Like they feel like you owe it to them.
No, see that's why I agree with you. I think that is a sign of disrespect and a sign of like improper upbringing,
right.
excuse me, because I've been in a situation not like that, but where I don't drink.
Yeah.
And the girl I was with at the time drank, right? And I didn't want to make a move because she was drunk and all this shit. And then she made the move on me first, and I went along with it. The moment I saw like some sort of hesitation on her face, I stopped what I was doing entirely. She didn't pass out. There was nothing like, but I just saw, okay, this isn't right. And I stopped doing what I was doing. I won't go into details, but had I been drunk as well,
who knows what would happen? Yeah.
And then you get yourself into a situation.
Right.
That's not me defending the actions of people, but it's like, what's a rapist?
Right.
If in that situation I was drunk and I proceeded with it because I was drunk and I couldn't see the signs, am I a rapist? Probably. But is that someone who's going to rape 10 more women down the line? Am I a serial rapist? Are those the same degrees? And again, I'm not defending anything. These are just conversations because I think. But my point is though, I think that
there are people out there who.
I don't think killing people is the solution to solving an issue.
Right.
I think reforming them as best you can until there is a point of no. There is absolutely a point of no return. You
have to figure out what the rehabilitation process is. I mean, I
enjoy what Norway does to people, like the guy who killed everyone on that fucking island, who killed like 40 people. He went around to like some summer camp and killed all those people.
Right. That happened
Norway
like last
only,
year or 2 years ago.
A few years ago, yeah. Norway only gave him like 20 years because that's the maximum. They don't believe in long. They can renew that, basically, from what I remember. But they don't get thrown into maximum security prison. They don't get them thrown into racial situations where they have to join a gang.
That's another extreme as well. Like, where do you draw the line? You killed 40 people. You know.
I don't know how many people it was. It was a lot. I think it was 30, but still. No, I agree with you. I think that's an extreme case. But
and also like there's a heat.
Their whole system.
There's just like different like I know the system too. Like they have more successful rehabilitation cases than we do in the U.S.
And the recidivism rates are extremely low because they want to change that person. They say that person's broken.
They cut down on repeat offenders, and unlike here in the U.S., where the most people that are getting
because you're going to go more into gang life in jail.
It's a revolving door. Here.
And so it's like, I'm not saying that Norway's right. I'm not saying America's wrong, even though I think their system is definitely fucked up, privatizing all this shit and just taking advantage. But there's definitely there's definitely a middle area. So when it comes to mental health, we don't know how the brain works. We can't explain consciousness, let alone like what really drives someone towards a certain direction. So I do think there's a time where we can be like, he has the rape gene, whatever that might be. He has like some sort of, his neurons aren't firing right.
Can you eliminate the rape gene is the question.
I think you can. I think maybe not now, but in the future with CRISPR, and you can eliminate that.
With genetic
That's
coding.
the ideal. That's the ideal situation. Right. Because killing them I don't think is the right way. I just don't think, and especially in that way, it's just. Is this Rome? Is it?
I don't know, man.
In Saudi, it is.
I think, there's definitely evidence that they are stuck in a certain time. By the way they.
But they're evolving. The new king is changing things.
Well, yeah, he opened.
Women are driving.
He opened movie theaters. Great.
Women are driving, but women. I mean, it starts somewhere.
Right.
It starts somewhere.
But he's also done a bunch of fucked up shit on the other hand.
Absolutely, and they're all worth trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And like, oh, you think Jeff Bezos has money? Yeah, right. They could buy Amazon right now, and then what are you gonna do about it?
Right.
It's just this. It's just I don't know. It's fucked up. But any other articles you want to talk about in terms of like entertainment and things like that?
Well, I mean, we never really got to the James Gunn thing, and we could talk about that real quick. And I feel like it's a sign of the times. And I think the irony is the person that outed him is a known like
someone who does this.
Well, he's a known like anti-rape, not anti-rape, but he's a rape denier. He has multiple tweets where he's like pro-rape for stuff. The guy's a piece of shit. But because he's a right-wing versus left-wing thing.
I think it's dumb because my opinion is this. He's already apologized for it. He already went through the public scrutiny. Disney knew about it.
Right.
There's no fucking way.
No, this isn't new information.
There's no way Disney didn't know about this. There's none. No way. None. There's no fucking... None. And Disney let him do 2 movies.
Yeah.
And then this resurfaces and now it's a problem. That's where I have an issue.
Right.
Disney has a private company firing him. Hey man, as a consumer, I have nothing.
Right, but they knew about it 7 years ago in 2010 or 8 years ago.
So it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's complete. And we already know the history of Disney.
And he also hasn't like since those tweets he has not done anything even remotely.
And that's why I believe his brother when he's like my brother's a changed man.
Right.
The cast, when the fucking entire cast signs on with Chris Pratt, who's fucking arguably one of the biggest stars right now.
Right.
And he's a Christian man, too. And I only say that because he wouldn't support someone
right.
who's against his values. And he signs on, and he says that, yeah, like, they were bad, but, like, he's a changed man now. I mean, if anything, it makes the Guardians movies better.
I mean, let me ask you something. Do you think that time matters in these situations? Since it's been almost 10 years that these things came out.
They're jokes. It's like Seinfeld said. He did a poor job.
Yeah.
He failed as a comedian because they weren't funny.
It's also what I like to call white guy humor. I feel like like this extreme pushing the envelope kind of.
To the point where it's like, I'm going to talk about kids getting raped and eaten and whatever else.
Right.
Like, no one, But it's
like
a joke.
Dan Harmon and his,
Exactly, but he still has his job. But I mean, it's like, my issue is, why did he get fired? Like, what are the grounds for his firing?
It's political pressure. That's all it is.
But it was immediate. My issue is no one takes it. I love what AMC did with Chris Hardwick.
They put him on leave, yeah.
They put him on leave. Let's investigate this. If you did it, you're fucked.
Like how much of this has to do with the acquisition of Fox? how
Gotta
Disney wants to be very neutral. They don't want to alienate either side of the political spectrum.
But
the problem is that we've become so polarized politically that that now corporations have to consider this now because they don't want to alienate him, because the bottom line is all they care about, and they feel like because James Gunn is a known liberal, he's criticized Republicans left and right, and that's the problem. Is like we're so like no one wants to be in the middle anymore right now in the climate we're in. And there's a lot of separation. You see it on Facebook, you see it on Twitter, you see it everywhere in real life. You can't have conversations with people anymore because automatically,
well, it's guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, exactly.
And even when you prove you're innocent, the damage has already been done.
Exactly. And
so
the Chris Hardwick thing is another example of it. And that's, I mean, let's talk about Chris Hardwick real quick. You know, the fact of the matter is, everything that his ex-girlfriend says could be 100% true, because the text messages that he released don't prove that what she said isn't true.
Absolutely.
You know, and we're still like, there's people out there that we know personally that are like, oh, he's completely absolved, he didn't do this. You know, never mind the fact that his entire staff quit once they realized he got his job back, and who knows what that's all about. You know, the question is, if he did treat his ex-girlfriend that way, is that grounds to fire the guy?
No.
You know,
unless
like when I read the whole thing that she put, all I saw was this guy's an asshole. That's really what it was. If this is true, he's just an asshole.
Yep.
You know, but is that okay to get rid of the guy? Like, she exposed, and I also, like, you know,
But what did she expose? Where's the evidence?
She didn't expose anything. There's no evidence. That's exactly. But it's one of those things like, where is there any sort of evidence for that? You need that on video? And
well, I know it's a double-edged sword, because it's like, well, so where are the receipts? Show me the evidence and then I'll believe you. But at the same time, she's writing an anonymous letter that didn't name anyone.
Right.
She technically never mentioned his name because she probably would have been sued.
Right.
But she never mentioned his name, and people are like, oh, it's her. She dated him. It's about him.
Right.
He's fucked now. So it's like, she didn't even have to accuse the dude.
No,
she didn't. And Chris.
It's a crazy, messed up situation. And then, but what's funny to me is he's absolved because, oh, hey, here's these text messages where I say you cheated on me. You cheated on me. That means everything you said isn't true.
I just think it's complicated, but I just think
it is definitely complicated, and I think at a certain point, like, you got to leave people's personal lives alone
to a certain degree.
I mean, unless he was raping her, unless he was like physically abusing her, like he's like right now we have the Ohio State football coach thing where the guy beat his wife more than once, you know, and he still kept his job, and they try to I don't know if they try to cover it up or if he just like put a blind eye to it. That's different. Someone's physically in danger.
Well, see, you can come back from physical violence. You can come back from dogfighting.
Yeah.
You can come back from rape. You can come back. I mean, I'm talking about Mike Tyson. I'm talking about Tupac.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Tupac was
Roman Polanski. I'm talking about
Roman Polanski. I don't know if he came back.
He won an Oscar.
Right.
He won an Oscar.
That shows the hypocrisy of.
Let's see who else can come back. A physical, like Michael Vick with the dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come back from that. Louis C.K. with what he did. Is he going to come back? Abso-fucking-lutely. You're going to tell me you're never going to see Louis C.K. do stand-up again? Get the fuck out of here.
Well, I feel like he's also going to, like, completely attack these things head-on and, like, make jokes
in his jokes,
about it.
absolutely. Yeah. But he's taking time.
Right.
He's taking time away from the spotlight. He understands, like, Roseanne doubled down on it. Roseanne doubled down on it. She fucking released videos, like, saying, oh, I got fired because I just voted for Trump and all this shit. And she went crazy. And it's just like, hey, man, take a break.
Yeah.
Like, you fucked up. That's it. Like, you fucked up. Own it. You know? Own it. I think that's the thing. People aren't owning it. James Gunn was, though. That's why I'm bringing this up. Mel Gibson, he didn't publicly own it at first. He might have gave the apology, whatever. But he's definitely put in the time, and he's trying to rebuild himself.
You got to give the public time to calm down. That's really what it comes down to. But let's wrap this up. Let's talk about this Ninja thing, you know, before.
Oh, the streamer.
This streamer thing. This guy Ninja he became super popular because of Fortnite.
Right. Top streamer. He streamed with Drake, I believe.
Yeah, like he's getting celebrities to stream with him. I don't know. I've never watched his channel, so I don't know exactly what the videos entail. Like, obviously,
I haven't watched this shit either.
I'm assuming it's kind of like a PewDiePie kind of deal as well.
No idea.
So I don't know, but he's popular. He's the #1 Fortnite streamer on Twitch.
Yeah.
But he came out and made a statement that he won't stream with female gamers because he doesn't want any sort of like controversy to come up, like any sort of like rumors or innuendos to come up of him. He's a happily married man. He wants to make sure that nothing comes out that
He's keeping his record clean.
Yeah, exactly. From ruining him in the future with some sort of potential scandal.
If you want to do that, don't be an asshole.
Right.
I mean, it's that simple.
That's pretty much where I'm at too. Like, I want to know why he felt the need to even address this at all. Were people asking him, how come you never stream with women? Like, it's something they picked up on? I don't know. I feel like...
I mean, I've been definitely guilty of saying, like, well, I don't do that, you know? Well, I'm not a racist, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, okay, we didn't say you were a racist. Why do you feel the
Right,
need to do
exactly.
that, right? But it's usually...
Well, you need to justify yourself.
Exactly. You usually have to be like, I'm going to say something that's probably going to be provocative.
Right.
Let me just make sure you understand that it's not coming from this.
I have a black friend.
Exactly. I have a black, and I'm not saying that that's right. I probably shouldn't say that at all. I shouldn't, because I should, and that's the whole thing. And I've definitely lessened that as I've gone on, because I do worry that, because I am monotone. I know what people's perceptions of myself, like of what their perceptions of me are. Excuse me. So you kind of have to. In my mind, I have to, but. I've never said, yeah, I don't want to work with women because they might think that I'm going to do.
Exactly.
I've never said that.
I think it's...
Never.
I think it's ridiculous. I think, like...
Ever.
That thought has never crossed my mind either.
Ever.
Yeah.
Like, not once did I ever say, like, let me make sure that this woman knows, like, hey, man, don't worry, I don't rape. Like, I don't...
Right, exactly.
I don't, like, you're good, don't worry about it. I'm not one of those guys.
No, not at all.
And it's like... Never.
And I think the problem I have with the statement is it opens up a bunch of other, like, questions like that.
I want to know who supports that and be like, me too, brother.
A lot of people has gotten a lot of support from
which I think is ridiculous.
And I think it kind of shows, there was that whole scandal and people were saying it was fake, the Gamergate thing,
I've heard both sides.
And I feel like there's some truth to that. There are some gamers out there who are very anti-women, to a certain extent.
And there's also women out there who are fucking just streaming because they can
show their boobs. They can show cleavage.
They can fucking paint their. They can wear the costumes that paint on.
Right.
And do like how-to tutorials while they play Minecraft.
Right. They can monetize their sexuality because we have these thirsty ass nerds.
It's not sexuality. It's just an art form that's being sexualized by dirty men.
Exactly. Like, which is bullshit. Like I don't agree with anybody. I know for a fact a lot of nerd culture out there. They're angry dudes who don't talk to girls.
All I'm gonna say is, if I was on Twitch and I saw Ninja and I saw some titties, I'm gonna watch some titties.
And that's fine, man. I get it. But at the same time, I don't know. It opens like, oh, so you don't want to support like female gaming?
I want to stream with girls.
No, not you. Not you. I'm saying
I'd love to stream with
this
some
ninja
titties.
guy. Like, you're not going to help these. I just think, I don't know. I think it's ridiculous. And like I said, I want to know what where the thought process came for him to even make that statement in the first place.
Exactly. I want to know what his mental.
You shouldn't have said it at all.
Because it's like, oh, so he's streaming with...
created false controversy.
Is he going to, like, grab some titties on a stream? Like, what is he going to do that's going to cause him to ever be put in that situation?
Which is funny, especially if the person's not even there physically with him.
And even if she was, even if there was a girl, how do you solve the situation?
Right.
Get a fucking third party to just sit outside of the camera.
Yeah, for example.
Get a woman. Get his wife.
His wife. Who, apparently, I hear she, like, helps with the
So it's
the
just
channel
like
as well.
It's just like the meetings that the people say, well, how do you counter the Me Too movement and, like, bring in a third party, bring in another woman to a meeting that's supposed to be with two people. Does that suck? Yeah, it sucks because it should just be a man and a woman meeting together and there should never be. But unfortunately, there's a lot of...
Or, and I'm going to support all my feminists out there, don't be a creep.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, just don't...
It should be...
Don't be a creep.
You should be able to have a meeting between a man and a woman and not have anything happen.
As long as you treat people like people, everything should be fine.
But you start...
And especially on Twitch.
Where everyone's going to see it.
Exactly.
So it's like, what's going to happen? I want to know what he's like off camera.
Right.
That he felt the need to say this.
Right.
Is he the type of guy who, like, slaps asses or, like, whatever? He flirts with everybody.
Or he stares at braless white T-shirts. I don't know, man. Anyways, that's going to do it for us, guys. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And Tuesday, live stream with Cora Continala. We're going to be reviewing Gold as well as talking about some other stuff. Should be a good episode. And once again, support your people out there in Kerala. Our hearts go out to you, and let's do whatever we can to help the situation out there. We'll see you next time.